Did you see what was going on last night with Joe Kelly and the Astros? Like, what happens in a brawl? Do you have to wear your mask if you want to get in a brawl with the other team?
I watched the manager in the umpire battle, right? I mean, I see, and I can see why people on the show get it wrong where they're not centered on the thing now because I'm that guy. This is this is on me.
And when you get so mad telling people not to hold, not
Pirates
to.
manager. Yeah, okay. I watched the Pittsburgh Pirates manager and the umpire get into it, and they clearly were yelling at each other to put the masks on. Then he put the mask on, then the nose comes popping out. And I don't know much about COVID-19. I don't think anybody does. But you can get them with a snot rocket, too, from what I've been told. So I believe any altercation, because there's going to be flare-ups, there's going to be, in sports, there's going to be moments where people want to get a little bit angry with each other, especially when you're throwing 96-mile-an-hour fastballs behind people's heads. Not warranted, by the way, warranted. I enjoyed that moment. He told him to shut up afterwards, his face with the babiness. I liked it, but I think we expect a lot more out of that for the Houston Astros. And I think everybody potentially thought that COVID-19 was going to make these pitchers forget about what happened down in Houston. Turns out that's not accurate. And old Mr. Kelly there was like, hey, you think I forgot I actually added some speed during this quarantine? Okay, me and Henry Rowan-Gardner tightened that son of a bitch up a little bit, and I'm headhunting all damn night. You need to know that.
Yeah, he is. It got me thinking about hockey. There's some exhibition games that have been on. Are hockey players allowed to fight in the NHL? Have they addressed that yet?
Well, they do a face-off to start each period, and if the puck goes out, and they're literally bent over, kissing each other.
But it's different if you take your gloves off and you're trading blows with the dude. Like, don't you think that's like maybe that's just not the best look during COVID?
Everybody knows you go stick, gloves, shirt. Everybody knows that's what you do whenever you get into it on the ice. Mighty Ducks, Bash Brothers taught me that back in the day. And if you want to go in deck hockey, I'll swing the stick, by the way. I'm not dropping it. I feel like I had a bigger brain than everybody else, but potential assault charges come alongside that. Hockey is one where they are going to bump into each other a lot with their faces exposed. So I think they kind of lead the way. But if you're in that bubble where nobody has it, I feel like you're in a safe zone. And I've been saying this about the NBA and the MLS, and the MLS has done such an incredible job. The NBA has done such an incredible job. The NHL, all these bubble leagues have done such a fine job of being able to quarantine and sequester their players away from this bitch COVID-19. So I think the players in the bubble are going to be a lot more comfortable with potentially mixing it up and throwing bows if you have to.
Geez.
But like the MLB, especially day after the Marlins thing pops off, I would assume they're looking around. They got no idea who's got COVID-19, who doesn't have it, and they're probably going to be a bit more precautious, just like the NFL. I'd assume the NFL is going to be a lot more precautious than these bubble leagues whenever it comes to altercations and arguments.
Jet, what about what happened with Joe Kelly last night, which was amazing, the whole situation, throwing behind him, and then him and Correa going back and forth. Is Major League Baseball going to have to do something drastic to stop teams from throwing at the Astros?
We're fighting.
No, I don't think so. I feel like, coming into the year, there were bets being taken, or the Astros going to be hit more than any team in Major League history. I'm not going to say this was a completely isolated incident, but I think if anybody was going to throw at the Houston Astros, it was going to be the Dodgers. It's funny, of course, that Joe Kelly wasn't even on the Dodgers team in 2017 that lost. He was, however, on the Red Sox team that lost to them in the division series. And Joe Kelly has a long and sordid history of getting into fights, let's say. I mean, you remember in 2018 against Tyler Austin, who is a big dude, like 6'2", 240, looks more like a linebacker than he did a baseball player. Austin charged him out on Joe Kelly, and Joe Kelly just gave him the whole, like, come on, let's have it, let's go at it. And ended up, like, wrestling Tyler Austin down to the ground and throwing a couple of punches. I'll be honest, I thought what he did yesterday was wrong. I don't like throwing at guys' heads, and Joe Kelly didn't say that he was doing it intentionally, of course.
Wasn't it a slider, though, the one that almost hit him in the head?
What's that?
Wasn't it a slider or a breaking ball that almost hit him in the head?
No, I mean that's the curveball is the one that almost hit Carlos Correa in the head, but the one to Alex Bregman was 96, sort of behind his neck. That's just, it's dangerous when you're throwing at a guy's head. And
oh yeah,
as bad as what the Astros did was, I personally do not believe that having a hard 5-ounce projectile thrown at your dome is the right recourse, and something like I just don't buy baseball vengeance. I think it's Neanderthal. I think it's kind of stupid, and wish it hadn't happened. But hey, watching Joe Kelly traipse off the field and give the sad face to Carlos Correa, and watching him yawn after throwing behind Alex Bregman, Joe Kelly's an interesting cat.
Well, Jed, I believe that's why you cover baseball, not play baseball. That competitive game is one that looks for vengeance, for sure.
Yeah, Pat, that makes two of us who don't play baseball. So,
hang up on him.
Hey, check the stats, Bob. Right fielder, second place Frontier League team, Washington Wild Things. I don't have to rub that in your face. You're a baseball expert. But the vengeance thing, I was following along with you, and I saw you you first tweeted about it, and then I would assume everybody came after you in the baseball world, how that's not good for the game. So then you had to clarify that you have always had to stay in point that you don't like people throwing at people's heads, which is probably smart. But let's talk about something that happens in baseball that's going to happen, and AJ and I talked about it a little bit ago. Are there rules in place for disagreements? Like we saw the Pirates manager and the umpire get into it, and they both fixed their mask. The ump actually pulled the mask out of his back pocket. If players were to fight, do they have to put their masks on before they spear each other? Has that been talked about, or is it hey, let's try to avoid physical altercations all that we can?
No, it's in the protocol, Pat, saying essentially there will be severe repercussions for teams that fight, which leads me to believe that there's still a chance that there's going to be some discipline after last night's game, if only because on the same day that the Marlins outbreak jumped to 17 people in the organization, the Astros and the Dodgers were not promoting social distancing particularly well by getting off the bench and congregating like they did on the field there. It's the kind of example baseball doesn't want to see set, but the fact that there wasn't a knockdown, drag out, Pat McAfee, Adam Cole, Donnybrook style fight leads me to believe there's probably not going to be discipline in this case.
Hey, Jet.
Well, Jet, I'll tell you what, Jet, you throw a baseball at my head, I'm throwing a bat at your face. I don't know how they had the restraint, but I like that they did.